Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the challenge of being a wedding photographer, or really anyone in the wedding industry, in the year 2020.
Taylor Jackson,
shooting 67 weddings last year.
Taylor Jackson, welcome.
So Taylor, you are well known in this community. You're an amazing photographer.
So 2020 has been a bit of an interesting year so far. It feels like we've already done 2 years worth of time and it's only March. So if you're feeling like you've aged 5 years within the past 2 months, 3 months, it's potentially true. And I'm sorry that you're 5 years older than you were at the beginning of the year. Looking at this season in particular, I've been a wedding photographer over 15 years now, and I have had a few busy seasons. I've been through the recession. The recession was actually for service-based businesses, specifically weddings. I feel like we weren't necessarily hit nearly as hard as every other industry, and I know that we got the side impacts of that if your couple both lost their jobs, obviously their wedding's going to be scaled back a little bit. But for the most part, growing my business in the recession, I didn't notice any lost income whatsoever. Moving into 2020, I'm definitely already noticing some lost income opportunities and just general fear of hiring a photographer, because nobody wants to do a family session right now. And if you're having a wedding, in the next couple of weeks, you're probably pretty nervous about it. You're probably going to bump that wedding to another time. We actually have a full video on the channel that kind of talks about that and the cancellation aspect of things going on this year and what we plan to do. I think as a new photographer, or really as anyone that's ambitious and wants to grow their business right now, you're going to be in a little bit of a standstill for a little while. And there are some things you can do in this time, but know that when you're advancing your business, or you're trying to work on your business and you're doing all these things that people are telling you to do, and you're making this fantastic website, but you're not getting inquiries, know that you're not getting inquiries because nobody's actually inquiring. It's been, I'm going to say, a week and a bit since I have received my last inquiry, and usually I receive maybe 3, 4, 5 a day. So down from that to absolute zero for the past week and a bit while people kind of figure this out. I think looking at my wedding season really starts the middle of May. So I'm hoping that all of this is cleared up, or at least under control, by that section of May, because I have over 50 weddings booked between May and November this year. And if this continues to kind of trail into that, it's really going to cause a lot of problems for me as a high volume wedding shooter, because while couples can move their dates, venues are being pretty kind with that. It's a little bit challenging when all of my Fridays and Saturdays are pretty much gone in this year. The other thing that it's very much limiting is last minute bookings. And if it's one of your first years in wedding photography, the huge benefit of being new is to kind of pick up all the dates when all the other photographers in your town that are the highest ranking on Google or the most known or whatever, once they're all booked and people find you and you're available, it is usually the fastest sale ever, because they're like, oh, you're available. We've talked to 10 people and 10 people have not been available. So can we meet tonight? Can I just send you money right now? And that's sometimes the way that it goes in the first couple of years. And that's something specifically on Patreon that I talk about, that you kind of have to lean into the fact that you're new, and that's totally cool. And couples understand it, and couples will hopefully understand, like if they come to your website and you're priced $1,000 less than somebody else in your local market, and they're like, why is this? It looks like, if you're faking it till you make it, if you have that full professional portfolio and somebody comes to your website and they're like, what's wrong with this person? Why do they charge so little? And if you just lean into the fact that it's because it's your second year ever in wedding photography, and here's the work that I do, and 1 year from now, that this is how far I've come in 2 years, that 1 year from now when your wedding approaches, I'm going to be even better, and you're getting the deal of a lifetime, and you found this diamond in the rough before they've made it, or whatever your marketing messaging might be. But that's something that I think is very important, and something that's often overlooked, because there is a huge focus on faking it until you make it. So I think if you're in the early stages of your business, you're going to be on pause for a little bit. What you can do, and what I do recommend that you do, is again, something that I talk about a lot on Patreon and even on YouTube here, is being in control of your portfolio and setting up the shoots that you want to go out and shoot. That people, if you're setting up a group of like 4 people to go out and do like a styled shoot, I don't think people are going to be too hesitant to do that. If you're trying to set up a full wedding right now and you're going to invite 200 guests, that's obviously going to be a bit of a hard sell. But if you're just setting up a small shoot and you can go out, and I guess the benefit to photographers now is that even our city here in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, there's not a whole lot of people on the street. Like it's a nice afternoon and maybe there are 2 or 3 people just kind of walking around, which is pretty crazy. So as a photographer, I think that it's a good opportunity that you can go out and you can shoot in the busy public places that would normally be just impossible to photograph cleanly unless you were out there at like 6 in the morning. And you can shoot frames that are nice and clean and simple and don't have a lot of distracting elements in it. Another thing that you can kind of lean into is the fact that all wedding venues are starting to feel this really, really hard. They might not have time if you contact them right now to be like, hey, I'd love to do a styled shoot. They're probably right now dealing with all of the chaos and all of the struggle that is coming with this season. But if you can make it as easy as possible for them and you can go in and you can create marketing material for a venue that right now is very much in kind of like backpedaling, just trying to figure it out. And you can come in hands off, you don't need their help, you just need them to open the door and you can go in and you can get something done. I think it is an opportunity right now that if you miss it, I don't think this is ever gonna exist again. And I feel like there are a lot of venues right now that if you want to become a preferred vendor at that venue and you're like, how do I get in? I feel like the next couple of months are your golden opportunities. So at the end of the day, understand that this is going to be a very hard year. It's going to be a very competitive year too, because everyone else, all the other photographers are feeling this. And now when that first commission comes in, a lot of people are going to be just kind of making custom packages that really just kind of maybe not necessarily devalue the industry, but they're going to be creating packages that might be even far below you if you are a new wedding photographer. So know that there is going to be a lot of competition once everything starts to clear up, and that marketing is going to go from kind of zero. I feel like we're all just kind of in this lull right now. And then as soon as things start to improve, it's just going to absolutely explode. So know that this is probably the hardest year. And if you can succeed this year and you can be successful in 2020, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have a future amazing life in wedding photography and in portrait photography. So hopefully this calmed some fears, gave you some actionable things that you can go do. Just know that right now is kind of, you got to find where the opportunities are. And I think the opportunities are creating marketing material for venues, making it as hands off for them as possible, just going in and just getting it done and creating good stuff and shooting those locations that really just were impossible kind of in the past, that now you have this weird palette of city that's pretty much vacant even here. So find those opportunities where you can and try to fill your time with things that are beneficial to your business. If you're interested, join up on Patreon. There's like hundreds of hours of content there that go far more in depth into business, and there's podcasts and all kinds of things. But really focus this time on making a better business for you in your wedding photography career, because your future self 5 years from now, you'll be thanking yourself that you spent this time and you spent this week or 2 weeks or whatever it is working hard on your business to make a successful life in the future, because this really is the coolest and most exciting career that you can. I know that sounds weird because all photographers kind of grow up and they're like, oh, weddings, I'll never shoot weddings. That sounds like such a nightmare. And then you start doing it and you realize, one, the time freedom I think that it allows is always been my number one, that I am first and foremost focused on having as much time freedom as possible. Second to that, the financial freedom that comes along with weddings, that it's a very well-paying gig once you get up and established. So it's worth all the struggle in the beginning to make it in the end, because you will create essentially a future life that's amazing for you, and a future life like I felt it when I was first getting started in photography. People are like, oh, that's like really risky. Like you're going to work for yourself. That's crazy. And now being on the other side of it, working for somebody else is the crazy thing, because at any moment they can fire you. Like even right now, if you're working a 9 to 5, I'd be a little bit nervous if I was working in the service industry and I was serving still, or I was a restaurant manager or something. I would be very nervous to have a job next year, or at least the job that I had. And also, like during the recovery, there's going to be so many people out there looking for jobs, and if you can just do your own thing and be self-sufficient and run your own business, I feel like that is the best place ever to be in. One, for that reason of the fact that you can just kind of be fired or let go or laid off or whatever at any moment, but also the fact that if you put in a lot of work, and you say you're a restaurant GM right now, and you put in a lot of work and you make your restaurant successful through this season, you're not going to really see any more money. You might get a small bonus or something, but by working extra hard and keeping the entire company afloat, unless I guess you're maybe a profit share or something, that you're going to kind of come out at that at the same rate that you were at, and maybe a thank you, a pat on the back. I'm kind of overgeneralizing here, but if you put like 80 hours of work into your business, and that is going to pay off over time exponentially. So the time that you invest right now is going to really just kind of make your future life better. So focus on the things that you can actually do right now to make your future life better, and do them, and don't just sit around and relax and watch Netflix like the tendency might be to do when you're feeling a little bit sad, a little bit depressed. And also join our Facebook group if you're interested. It's a community full of wedding photographers, so at least you have some coworkers and some people to kind of talk to back and forth, to have some sort of interaction. And specifically, I think the other important thing with that is to have interaction within what you actually want to be doing. I think that a lot of my most important friendships had basically just spawned from the fact that we were both wedding photographers trying to make it, and we kind of found each other. And then through that process, through the past 15, 10 years, whatever it's been, a lot of us have just become really great friends because one, you're friends because you want to be friends, and two, you have somebody to run business ideas off of. So if you don't have anyone locally that is that level of friend, maybe you can find someone on the internet. And when the world gets a little bit better, maybe you can visit in real life. I think like WPPI next year is usually the place that a lot of us kind of meet for the first time. So if you're interested in that, hopefully everything is cleared up by then and life is back to normal. But yeah, join our Facebook group. And if you're interested, join Patreon, because there is more than enough content up there to keep you busy over the next couple of weeks. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again next time.